A Bills-Miami final preview, an X factor for each side of the football, 5 bowl predictions, and a final score prediction. All that and more coming your way. Episode 878 of Talking Buffalo, starting now.
Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
What is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you, as always, to everyone out there for watching and listening, for following and subscribing. I do appreciate y'all very, very much. You guys are the best. A Buffalo Bills Miami Dolphins preview and predictions episode coming your way right now. I want to say 2 things, though, before we get cooking with this episode. Number 1, hopefully you guys are listening or watching this sometime relatively early on Thursday. If you are, if it's before 4:30 p.m. and you weren't planning on doing it already, make your way over to Imperial Pizza, 1035 Abbott Road. There is a special event going on, a Logan's Friendship Bracelet event. Logan is the 8-year-old kid who hand-wrote a letter to Keon Coleman right after the Bills drafted him. He welcomed him to the Buffalo Bills organization, told him about where the cool pizza was, which he said in the letter was Imperial, to go to Wegmans for sandwich, some other fun stuff in his letter. And he sent Keon a bracelet that Keon wore, and it took off. And the family decided to do something really cool with this kind of newfound fame and celebrity that Logan's been getting. So at this event, he's going to be selling these friendship bracelets for $8 a pop. But here's the cool thing. This is not a for-profit event. Every single proceed penny of this is going directly to Oshai's Children's Hospital. The bracelet itself is a reason enough to come out. But if you want to try to win something really cool, they got tons of raffles going on, including a Keon Coleman signed jersey, a Keon Coleman signed helmet, a James Cook signed plaque, some Teron Johnson stuff, a Joe Andreessen helmet, all kinds of Buffalo Bills autographed merchandise. And again, every single penny of proceed from this entire event is going directly to Oshai's Children's Hospital. You're not going to find a better cause. A great event. Logan is a great kid. I'm looking forward to meeting him myself at this event. Again, 4:30 p.m. Imperial Pizza, South Buffalo location, 1035 Abbott Road. Be there. One other thing, then we're going to get into this preview today. Well, actually 2 things real quick here. Number 1, I was supposed to be doing this preview show with Anthony Marino, but something unfortunately came up on his end. He's fine. Everything's fine with him, but he was just unable to do this show. I bring that up because going forward, you can expect Anthony to be able to do these preview episodes each week before a Bills game. Anthony is going to be my main preview episode guy. So I just want to let you know I'm doing it solo today because something kind of came up last minute that was unavoidable, but all good. Anthony, you can expect him to be on with me for future Bills preview episodes. Other thing, too, I would be completely remiss if I didn't take a quick second here, at least, to acknowledge that this episode is being taped here on Wednesday, September 11th. And 23 years it's been since 9/11. And it's just wild. And again, you know, you got to put things in perspective. We got a football game. I'm very excited for this game. I'm excited to talk to you about it on this show today. But I got to take a second here just to acknowledge that. I really don't need to say much more. 23 years it's weird because in one way it feels like like a century ago. In other ways, it feels like just yesterday sometimes. Every time around this year, and especially around this day, I see videos and tributes and stuff, and it just triggers back memories. And I'm sure for a lot of you that are consuming this show, the exact same thing. It's pretty wild to me because I got a son now, and my son, he's not a boy. He's a young man now. He's a grown ass man. He's 21 years old. When this show's over, I can go hang out with him and we could go around the corner to the pub and grab some wings and have a couple of pitchers of beer. But he wasn't even born when this happened, which again, that's wild to me because it doesn't feel like it was 23 years ago. In some ways, it just stays ingrained in your mind and in your heart for forever. And I just bring this up real quick because I think it's up to people like us to keep this out there so that not only no one forgets, because if you're alive for it, of course you're never going to forget that, but more importantly, to keep this at least on this date every year relevant and in the news, because you got to teach our youth about this as well. Again, people like my son who's 21 years old and younger than that, they literally weren't even alive when this happens. So I would just encourage everyone out there, if you got a child who's younger than 23 years old, or if you got a little baby brother or sister or cousin or whoever, just take a couple moments and talk to them about what you were doing that day and how everything went down and how it impacted your life and just everybody around you. Find a video on YouTube or something, show them. Make sure that if they don't already know and they're not educated about it, that they are. It's just too important of a day in the history of this country to just say, it's 9/11, moment of silence, and move on. Educate the people who don't know. I think that's real important. Anyway, all right, moving on here. Let's get into some football stuff. Actual news of sorts. Greg Rizzo, AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Very much deserved. 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 3 tackles for a loss, six tackles in total. And I've said it all week. I'll say it again. The Buffalo Bills are not 1-0 if Greg Rizzo doesn't have the type of game that he had on Sunday against Arizona. And it's great to see him be rewarded with his first ever AFC Defensive Player of the Week. I don't know if I said offensive the first time, which, by the way, give me a break. Again, I was prepared to have a guest to go back and forth with here, and I'm kind of throwing this all out solo right now. But good for him. I was a little bit concerned of the offense and the defense, and it didn't go the way I thought it was going to be. I thought Greg Rizzo was the Buffalo Bill who was the less likely to win Player of the Week awards. Keon White from New England had 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble himself in a big upset road win at Cincinnati. I thought there'd be a good chance that he would win this, but Drew got it. Very well deserved. Other side of the football, I mean, I was wrong. Maybe some of you were too. I would suspect you were, but I thought Josh Allen was a lock to win AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and he didn't. Joe Mixon, running back for the Houston Texans, his first game with Houston, he gets that honor. I'll say this quickly. I thought of the two, Josh Allen was more deserving, but I won't go as far to say that he got ripped off. I'm not going to say that Joe Mixon winning this award is anything egregious. Mixon had 159 yards rushing last week for Houston. I went back and I looked it up. Only 7 times did anyone last year surpass that total all of last season, 159 yards. One of them, by the way, James Cook, who had $177 against the Cowboys. Anyway, 30 carries too, which would have tied for the second most of anybody in the league last season. Scored a touchdown, 3 catches for 19 yards as well. Again, I still think Josh personally, maybe I got a little bit of bias being a Bills guy here, but again, Joe Mixon was at least deserving, and it's not egregious. That's kind of the point that I've arrived at. So congratulations to him, and especially congratulations to Greg Rizzo. And the league was just look, at the end of the day, I don't think that it's even people felt that Mixon had a better week than Allen. I think it's just the league just flat out does not give the same team offensive and defensive players of the week. I could be wrong, and if I am, you let me know, but I don't think I am. I'm not sure that a team's ever won both offense and defense in the same week. But anyway, that's just paper awards. It's over and done with. That's week one. We're clearly on to week two. And let's start here before we kind of get into like any real preview to speak. You cannot, I know you know a lot of the numbers, or at least you know the record. Even if you don't know specifics, one thing you know about the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan on any level, is Josh Allen has just absolutely owned the Dolphins throughout his career. And simply put, you just cannot understate Josh Allen's dominance of the Miami Dolphins. He's 10-2 against this team for his career. Actually, 11-2 if you want to count the playoffs, because he's 1-0 against him in the playoffs. But 12 times he's played the Dolphins in the regular season. He's 10-2. That's absurdly impressive in itself. I mean, that's Tom Brady owning the Bills forever vibes, right? But even what's more impressive about going 10-2 against his team to this point, Josh Allen has won AFC Offensive Player of the Week 5 times in 12 games against this team. Can you imagine owning someone to the point that you've played them 12 times and nearly in half of those games, not only were you the best player offensively on the field for that game, but you were the best player of anybody in the entire conference. I mean, those are levels of owning a team you just don't see. That's got to be some kind of historic record. It has to be. Statistically, he's got 41 total touchdowns, including 36 of them passing. He's thrown just 7 interceptions in 12 games, which for Josh Allen's a pretty big deal, considering it feels like he throws a pick a game, right? I think he had nine straight games with an interception last year. But 41 touchdowns total, just 7 interceptions. He's thrown for 3,363 yards in those 12 games, which if you go out and, and you average that over, say, 17 games, and that's got to be close. I didn't do the math, but it's got to be well over 4,500 yards a pace of that. Thinking in my mind right now, actually be more than that. But anyways, quarterback rating 110.1. And he has thrown for at least 2 touchdowns in all 13 games against Miami, including the playoffs. That is the longest streak versus a single team in the history of the NFL. So everything else we talk about for the rest of the show, the good, the bad, the ugly, the prediction I make, again, you just simply cannot underestimate or understate, I should say, how much Josh Allen has owned the Miami Dolphins. As a Bills fan, you're on the other side of it for many, many years. Tom Brady never would seem to lose. I think he lost 2 or 3 times in his career against the Bills when he was with the Patriots. But the difference was all those years and all those games where the Bills couldn't beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, Tom Brady had plenty of, like, we'll call them pedestrian type games. Like New England won those games because their defense just shut the Bills' offense down, or they ran the hell out of the football. And Tom Brady would have some really good games here and there. But the difference between these two is Josh Allen is just going out and beating the shit out of the Miami Dolphins by himself if he has to. It's just incredible. That stat, of all the Bills stats that I see, that one might be the most impressive. 5 Player of the Week awards in 12 career games against this team. That is just, it's ludicrous. As for the Miami Dolphins, they're 1-0, just like Buffalo. They beat the Jaguars last week at home, 20-17. That game was 1 yard away. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was 1 yard away from being over. It was 17-7 Jacksonville. They had the ball near the goal line. Travis Etienne almost scores, gets hit right before the goal line by Javon Holland. Miami recovers the ball in the end zone, brings it out to the 20. 1 more yard, and it's 24-7 Jacksonville in that game. That's a wrap. Jacksonville's 1-0, Miami's 0-1. But Javon Holland quite literally saves the day. The Miami gets the ball at the 20-yard line, and I think it was the next play too. Boom. 2 with a Tyreek Hill 80-yard touchdown pass, and there you go. Tua threw for 338 yards last week. Tyreek Hill had 130 yards receiving and that 80-yard touchdown. Jalen Waddle also went over 100 yards. He had 109. Tua threw for, again, 338. 143 of those 338 came on 2 plays. The 80-yard touchdown bomb to Tyreek Hill and a 63 or 66-yard bomb to Jalen Waddle. So you already know the Miami passing game is very dangerous. Arguably the best 1-2 receiver tandem in the entire NFL. This is not new to Bills fans. You know this. Injury front, obviously the Bills got some significant injuries, which we'll talk about, but Miami's not exactly healthy themselves. Raheem Mostert, a very talented running back, he's got a chest injury. He's already been ruled out. Devon Achane is a speedy back. He's got an ankle issue. He's officially listed anyway as a game time decision. That's what Mike McDaniel said on Wednesday. Speculation is that he may ultimately end up playing. Miami beat reporter Joe Shad tweeted out that he thinks he's going to play based on what he saw on Wednesday. We'll see. You could see the debut of 4th-round rookie Jalen Wright, who's a fast running back. Miami just loves speed. 4.3840 he ran at the combine last year. Again, a 4th-round pick out of Tennessee. I don't want to say a good running back because he hasn't done shit in the NFL yet, but he is definitely a dangerous running back. And then, of course, you think Miami Dolphins, we still got to stay with the injury front too. Bradley Chubb's not playing. He started the season on PUP, so he's out as well. And Jalen Phillips is playing. He's coming back from an Achilles, but it's been a little bit of a slow go for him. Let's just say you're getting Jalen Phillips out there, but he's not Jalen Phillips that you saw before the injury. And Bills fans know all about that with Von Miller, with Trey White, etc. Then one last note about Miami before we kind of get into some Bills keys to the game is old friend for the Miami Dolphins, Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer plays for Miami now. I got nothing but love for Jordan Poyer. And, some of these guys who left, it was their decision to leave. Gabe Davis was a free agent. He wanted to go get paid, and he went to Jacksonville. Don't blame him at all. Stephon Diggs more or less forced his way out of Buffalo with a trade. Say what you will about him, and there's plenty of opinions on both sides. There's not 1 ounce, even as just a Bills fan, forget about this microphone and my show and all that stuff I'm talking about as a Bills fan. I don't harbor 1 centimeter of resentment towards Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer re-signed last year. If you were going to have any resentment towards Jordan Poyer, it would have been a year ago. He was a free agent. He was looking to go somewhere else, but that bag never came. And he re-signed with the Bills for 2 years. It was the Buffalo Bills' decision to cut Jordan Poyer. So you can't be mad at him for going to the Miami Dolphins because he was under contract to the Bills, and the Bills are the ones essentially who cut him. So anyway, he's an old friend that we're going to see on the field, and you just kind of know at some point, Jordan Poyer is going to be involved in this game in a pretty meaningful way. Like you just feel in your bones, you're going to see a Jordan Poyer meets Josh Allen moment. You just know it's coming, man. Anyway, all right, I want to take a quick break, come back, and I got some keys to the game for the Bills. You want to be 2-0? These are the keys. All right, we're back here, and I am doing a Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins preview. Again, doing this solo. Wasn't initially planned to be solo, so kind of on the fly here, just set to do some notes and trying to go some things off the top of my head. Keys to the game for the Bills. I think probably, for me anyway, the biggest key to this game is going to be running the football, pounding the rock. And I know that's not an exciting thing, so to speak, to think about. I know Joe from Queens hates the thought of that. By the way, post-game, I should have said this too near the top. After this game tonight, regardless of whatever time it ends, about 20, 30 minutes after the game, we will be a live post-game show. I'll have Joe from Queens with me. We'll go through the good, the bad, the ugly of this game. And Joe's made it no secret. He wants to see the Bills throw the football a lot more. Eventually, that's going to happen. Not sure it's going to be tonight, because I think the Bills are going to make a concerted effort to really run the football and control the clock. Jacksonville had some decent success running against Miami last week. They ran 26 times for a $128. By the way, Miami also doesn't have Christian Wilkins anymore. Of course, he went to the Raiders. So I think that middle of the defense is just a little bit softer than it's been in the past. But here's what I think it comes down to. I just ran off 5 minutes worth of Josh Allen completely owning the Miami Dolphins statistics for you, right? That's not lost on the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. I promise you that. So I feel like they are going to almost dare the Bills to run the football. Like, they're tired of Josh Allen killing them with his arm or killing them with his legs outside of the pocket, scrambling. And I feel like this team being Miami, wants the Bills to run the football. It reminds me potentially, as I'm going over this in my mind, at least anyway, I see a scenario where a handful of years, I think it might have been 2020, when Kansas City came to the Buffalo and they played Monday night game, and the Bills just dared the Chiefs to run the football. And they did. They ran for well over 200 yards. It ended up being like a 9-point game, but it felt like a blowout. Kansas City just, they manhandled the Bills on that day. Kind of feel, again, those vibes a little bit in some ways with this game. Like, Miami's going to dare the Bills to run the football. And I think Sean McDermott and Joe Brady, and especially Sean McDermott, for a variety of things, part of it being his defense being hurt, I think he's going to be more than happy to comply. And I think James Cook is going to be a guy who's going to have a very big role in this game. I thought James Cook had a solid home opener for the Bills. Statistically wasn't great. 70 yards rushing, caught 3 passes, 35 yards, something like that. I know one of them went for like 25 yards. But it wasn't like eye-popping stats, but I thought he had a solid game. I liked on film the way he ran. When he needed to be decisive, he was decisive. When he needed to be patient and wait for a block, he did. I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities to do the same thing again. And I could see the Bills running 25 times this game. I'm not even talking about Josh Allen either. I'm talking about the running backs. Between James Cook, between Ray Davis and or Ty Johnson, I could see the Bills running the football 25 times. And if you're going to be playing nickels and dimes the whole game, kind of like the Bills do often, and you're going to dare the Bills to run the football, and you got some injuries to worry about, I think you should. So I think a key to the game for the Bills is going to be effectively run the football. It's the biggest key, 20 to 25 times, let's just say, for the running backs in this game. Another key for the Bills is when you do throw the ball, I think you need to exploit the clear Miami wink link in the passing defense, and that's Cater Kohu. That dude stinks, man. We've seen it before. Cater's not any good. You've seen it before. Typically, he's a slot corner, which I think potentially bodes well for Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid. Only had 1 catch last week. So I think going after Cater, just like there's going to be weak spots in the Bills defense that Miami perceives anyway, that they're going to try to exploit for Miami. I think it's going to be controlling the ball, possession with the run, and going after a very mediocre slot corner. And if I could go back to quickly here with the Bills running, because again, this stuff, some of it's fresh in my mind doing this solo today. Another reason why I think the Bills, if they could effectively run the football, will be good, is because if Miami's not on the field enough, and we've seen this before with them too, if they're not on the field enough, you get impatient when you do get the football. You get the football and you get impatient. You want to, instead of Tua, the Bills just go on a 6.5 minute drive, and that might, Tua don't want to take the ball and go 5 yards here, Chuck, or run the ball here, power run this, that. He's going to want to get those points back. We've seen it before. We saw it in Buffalo in week 4 last year. Start forcing the issue. down the field. You start getting impatient. You're not taking what the defense gives you, and that leads to mistakes. We've seen Josh Allen on the wrong side of doing that. So it's another reason why I think the Bills are going to run the ball. But run the ball, attack that weak-ass slot corner. Another key for the Bills is going to be the offensive line, being up to task. The tackles both were really, really good last week against Arizona. Now, I'll say this, even with Miami having some injury issues and stuff like that, Miami's defense is way better than Arizona's. But Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown were literally, at least I saw a stat, it was maybe an ESPN stat. They didn't give up a pressure the entire game. Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown, either tackle. They were spectacular. I thought David Edwards was really good too. In fact, I was more worried about him going into the game than Osiris Torrance, and I thought Edwards had a really good game. McGovern was fine against Arizona, and Osiris Torrance was just god-awful in that game. That was a nightmare season opener for Torrance. They're going to come after him too. Zach Seiler's going to be in front of him. They're going to bring pressure up his way. So he's got to be up to task. This offensive line as a whole has to be up to task. Couple more of these here. It's because they play. I don't know. I still, it's days later and I'm still sitting here befuddled to all you at the game plan Arizona had to not attack corners more often than they did. Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford were barely even targeted in the first week. Like 3 targets and 2 catches for 4 yards, at least per PFF stats anyway. Guess what? I can tell you with full confidence, that shit is not happening this game. It's not happening. They're going to get tested against Miami because guess what? Tyreek Hill on one side, Jalen Waddle on the other, and they'll move around and do some motion and slots, but those guys are their boundary guys. You're going to get tested. Douglas, Benford are going to get tested. They always are when you play Miami. They're going to get help too, safety help, nickel slot help, whatever, dime looks, things like that. So it's not like they're going to be one-on-one with these guys each and every single play, but they got to be up to task. They're going to get tested. If Douglas or Benford are not up to task, it could really quickly be a very long night for the defense. And speaking of, 2 more points here. I feel like someone other than reigning AFC Defensive Player of the Week, Greg Rousseau, is going to have to step up. I think he's going to get a lot of attention. You watch that film. You know what? You don't even watch the film. You watch the game. You saw it with your own eyes. You don't need to be a film guru, an expert to know it. Greg Rousseau completely and utterly dominated the Arizona Cardinals. Miami is probably not letting that happen with just an offensive tackle blocking him one-on-one. You're going to see tight end chips, receiver chips, flat out double teams. They're going to do everything possible to make sure that Greg Rousseau does not have anything close to the type of impact that he did in the opener. So somebody's going to have to step up. Maybe it's going to be Von Miller, who played 48% of the snaps in week 1. I thought he had a really good game to build off of. He had a sack, his first sack in forever. And he looked good. Had some juice. He had some bend to him and a nice bull rush. He had a couple of different moves too. He's going to have to continue to build off that game. Now, that was promising, and I have a lot more confidence right now in Von Miller than I did before the season. He only plays 40 to 50% maximum of the snaps still. For me, and I know I sound like a damn broken record, when I say someone on the defensive line needs to step up, it needs to be Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver, you got to step up. You got to step up. Kyler Murray, they were scheming some things, and I call them now the Ed excuse makers out there. We're always, he's getting rid of the ball quick, running away from him, this and that. Guess what? Tua gets rid of the ball quicker than anybody. They're going to do the same shit. This guy's got to find a way to make an impact. You cannot let Tua get back there and comfortable and just continue to go through his progressions. You got to make him get rid of the football quick. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones too. But Ed Oliver really has to step up. He's got to have a good game. If Ed Oliver has 0 solo tackles, 0 assisted tackles, 0 quarterback hits, 0 pressures against Miami, you're probably going to look at a team that's going to lose this football game. he's got to be better. And then, of course, AJ Epinesa, he needs to step up as well. It's not, I mean, Groot can still make a couple plays. He'll get opportunities, but they're going to pay him a shitload of attention. And then for me, the last key is just weathering the storm. Weathering the storm. Look, Miami's hungry, man. They're going to have some big plays. That's the type of football team they are. They're going to have some big plays. And it wouldn't shock me if they came early. Like, it would not shock me at all if Miami starts fast. They have to feel like they could just overpower this Bills defense. They're probably got a lot of confidence right now. No Teron Johnson. Matt Milano's already out. I mean, that's 2 all-pro defenders that you're down. And we might be saying, as I tape this, don't know what's up with Teron yet, if he's going on IR or not, but you can probably count him out for let's just say multiple games for now. So you can see teams more confident with him out of the lineup, man. And I'm sure Miami is going to be feeling very confident. Would not shock me to see them come out to a very good start. So if you're the Bills, whether it's scoring with them, whether it's getting lucky and a couple breaks go your way, an official call, a ball hits the ground, or a turnover, whatever it may be, find a way to weather the storm. Because if you get down 17-3 like they did against Arizona last week, you're going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble. One more real quick break, come back. Areas of concern. I got 5 bowl predictions, and then we're going to make the pick for the week as well. All right, I'm back here. Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins preview. Again, kind of an unexpected solo effort out of me tonight. So I'm just doing my best here with what I got. Areas of concern. I'm going to start with Josh Allen's hand. It's not going to affect his passing game, obviously. He didn't miss any practice this week. You could see in some close-up shots, he's got 2 fingers. His ring and his middle finger are taped together. I don't know if it's 1 broken finger or fractured finger, 2 maybe. I don't know. He's going to wear a glove, or at least he wore a glove earlier this week. He'll be fine throwing the football, probably in a lot of shotguns. But my point is, it's likely going to affect parts of Josh Allen's game, mainly running the football. And that's going to matter. They might say, Sean McDermott might say, Josh, this week too, don't you dare take off unless you got nothing but open green in front of you and you're guaranteed to be able to get down. Do not run this football. We cannot take you getting a hit to your hand and potentially making that worse. So you could lose the Josh Allen run factor. You can lose the Josh Allen, which is even bigger than this. What's been going on now since last season, which has worked perfectly, but if it's 3rd and a yard or less, or 4th and a yard or less, the old Josh Allen, you know it's coming, but stop it anyway. Under center, tush push. I don't think that's going to be in play as long as Josh Allen's hand's bad. So 3rd and a half yard is not going to be the given that it's been, last week and last season. So that's going to be affected as well, or just him flat out, lining up under center and taking snaps under center. I'd be surprised if that happens. So that scares me. Plus just a general hit to the hand. He can be in the pocket and get sacked or something, drop the wrong way. So I'm in the mindset, I trust Josh, but it's too early in the season to be this scared about your quarterback. This shit sucks. It's too early in the year. So that's my huge concern for this game. I'm also very concerned about the safety plays. I said earlier, Douglas and Bedford are going to get tested. They're going to have to be really good because I do not have confidence in these safeties right now. Hamlin or Rapp, I'm not sold on either of them. It felt like watching the film back from Arizona, like they were late arriving on plenty of plays. I'm not going to get into a film breakdown right now, but just trust me, they were late. These are guys who had to, be over the top to help these deep balls that are going to come in this game. And they also need to come up better run support, because it wasn't even just, arriving late to the football in the passing game. Like in the running game, they're standing around, not being aggressive and filling gaps against Arizona. I noticed that too. And that's another thing that, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde were so good at. It wasn't just right place, right time, the big turnover in the second half when you needed a big play. One of those guys would always seem to make it. It was also how good they were in the run defense. And when they saw the play coming, they knew a run was coming, they were up, bam. near the line, making plays. They knew where to be in coverage. They knew where to be in the run defense. And I don't feel that right now with DeMar or with Taylor Rapp at all. So that concerns me. I already talked about the injuries on defense. That's clearly a concern. It's only week 2, and you're already down Teron Johnson and Matt Milano. And that shit really sucks. I mean, you're just going back 3 weeks, and you're like, you lost some names on defense, but you're like, whatever, man. You got 2 all-pro players on that defense. You're going to be fine. Well, week 2, we haven't even played the second game yet, and now they're down 2 guys. Also got Dwan Smoot out for this game, which I didn't think was going to be a big deal last week, but I kind of think it was because you got nothing from Casey Toohill. Plus, Javon Solomon is going to be doubtful for this game. Trust me, he's not going to play. So yeah, injuries are a big concern. And then I would say probably the last thing that's an area of concern is going to be dumb, but kind of like the laws of gravity, And we used to be on it all the time against the Patriots. And I mean, you would think it was going to end, and it felt like it was never going to end, right? It just didn't. As long as Tom Brady was there and never changed. But sooner or later, the tides kind of got to turn a little bit. And with all the factors out there, this feels like this could be that week. So it's almost just like the paranoia in me, the laws of gravity had me concerned. In terms of one X factor for each side of the ball. Not much, talked about this week with the Bills. Offensively, I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel. I think you're going to see a more diverse Curtis Samuel than you've seen in week 1. I think he's going to have a couple carries. You can see a jet sweep. I think he's going to work the slot plenty. Again, Cater is out there for Miami. I think they're going to go after him. I think this could be a good week for Curtis Samuel. I'll say this. If he is, I know he's had turf toe, but if he's pretty much 100% or even close to it, and he's still not having any real production, I'm going to start to get worried about how the Bills use these gadgety guys. This has been a pattern now for a handful of years. Last year, I expected Deontay Hardy to be used in a lot of different ways, and that never materialized. After Cole Beasley got cut, Isaiah McKenzie became the starting slot receiver, and I expected a lot more out of him. Same type of player, Curtis Samuel. And again, just 1 week, and he was battling a turf toe. But if he does nothing, I'll be a little concerned about it. That said, I'm calling him my X factor because I do think he's going to have a big role in this game. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Dorian Williams. Could have easily put him in my concerns as well. You can't be over pursuing in the run game and the screen game. And Miami's really good at misdirections and counters and sweeps and motions and things like that. And he's got to be fundamentally sound. He's athletically sound. He's a good athlete, which gives him the ability to make good football plays. But you got to be fundamentally sound because Mike McDaniel will come up with some shit on offense to completely take advantage if he's not. So Dorian Williams is a big X factor. I said I had 5 bold predictions, almost done here, and then we'll get into our game prediction. 5 bold predictions. All right, number 1, I think Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox combined are going to get at least 9 catches. That's bold prediction 1. Bold prediction 2, talked about these guys earlier. One of Taylor Rapp or DeMar Hamlin is going to get benched in this game. They won't be hurt. But you'll wonder why they're not on the field, and then you'll find out it's not health related. One of those 2 guys are going to get benched. Mike Edwards, I feel like, is going to get a shot at some point this game. I don't want to say Cole Bishop because I'm recording this before we know inactives. It wouldn't surprise me if he's inactive again and he makes his debut in week 3. But whether he is or whether he isn't, I think Mike Edwards is going to get out there and get an opportunity, and it might come at the expense of Rapp or Hamlin. Number 3, I talked about him earlier. Old friend Jordan Poyer. He's going to make at least 1 play of significance this game. A fumble recovery, a hard hit, a tackle for a loss, a sack. He's going to do something positive for Miami. And when he does, I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. There's going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny part inside of me that's going to have a little bit of joy, man. I'm going to feel good for him. Tiny part. Tiny, tiny, tiny part. We'll talk about Jordan Poyer being on the Bills Wall of Fame someday, maybe. down the road. But yeah, Jordan Poyer is going to do something in this game that's going to kind of like be like, could have had him. Instead, you just benched Taylor Rapp or DeMar Hamlin. So that's a bold prediction. Two more here. Tyler Bass is going to kick a field goal of at least 50 yards, and we're going to collectively start to feel a lot better about him. I've been really down on Tyler Bass during not one, but two preview episodes last week. One with Howard Simon and Matt Burrito, one with Jay Skursky and Nate Geary. On both of those, I said as a bold prediction, Tyler Bass not going to be on this roster at the end of this year, but I'm starting to feel better about him. He's going to have a 50-yard kick in Miami, and we're going to feel better about him. Last one. The Bills are going to be forced to go to a 4-3 defense, even though they don't want to, because Cam Lewis just isn't going to be able to get it done. Look, it's tough to play that nickel when you got Teron Johnson, who's undersized but so physical. And to his credit, Cam Lewis was great against Arizona. But Miami's got time. They know all week long that Cam Lewis is going to be out there. They're going to have a game plan. They're going to pull guards. They're going to have tight ends and fullbacks go at him. I think Miami's going to run the football plenty, be successful, and you're going to get to a point where Bobby Babbage is going to have to get out of his base nickel, and I feel like he's going to have to bring Nick Morrow or who the hell's the other guy? Braylon Spector onto the field and have a base 4-3. All right, we've reached the point here. Game predictions. I had to point this out, and I don't know quite what I'm going to say until it comes out of my mouth. Here's what I'll say. 42 consecutive games the Bills have went now without losing by more than 6 points. That is an NFL record. It's already the most in history. 42 games. I got to keep it real. I have to. That's what I do on the show. I think that streak comes to an end this game. I think the injury to Teron Johnson, I think Josh Allen's hand being banged up and limiting part of what they're going to do. Like I said, a critical 3.5 yard, just him running the football in general, maybe being a little more protective subconsciously of it, which I would have no problem with. The fact that it's a short week, Miami is playing at home. I guarantee you they have an unreal amount of urgency. They're probably in that locker room saying, if we don't beat this team now, when are we going to beat them? And I've questioned their lack of leadership, which, to bring them up one more time, a guy like Jordan Poyer being on that team in that locker room provides some of that. Just all these factors, you add them all up early in the season, not indicative of how I think the season is going to end, but for this particular game and all those factors, the short week, the injuries, Josh Allen's hand, Miami's urgency, the home field advantage, better leadership on that football team, I'm going Miami 30, Buffalo 20. So 30-20, a 10-point win. It'll be close. The Bills will make it, they'll get it closer in the second half. I don't think it's going to come down to a last drive. It's going to be Miami's night. And then you're going to get idiots like the Barstool guy, Smokes, or whatever the hell his name is, talking his shit. The national media is going to be down on the Bills. You know it's coming. It's okay. It's one game. I want to be wrong. I'll be clear about that. It wouldn't stun me. Again, never, 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 especially when you're playing the Miami Dolphins, count Josh Allen out. But sooner or later, that dam's got to break. And for this week, I think it's going to. So sorry, folks. Keeping it real. Got to go Miami 30, Buffalo 20. Regardless of how this game plays out, again, I will be live within a half hour or so after the game. Joe from Queens will join me. We'll break it all down, the good, the bad, the ugly. Hopefully, and I'm going to keep it real here, hopefully we're talking about a Bills win, but based on my prediction, I don't think so.